Hello, everyone. My name is Rashid Ali. I'm an RCIC based in Ontario, Canada. Today, we'll go over the latest immigration updates that are shaping Canadian immigration right now. Plus, I'll share some insights on what these trends mean for you if you're planning to study, work, or settle in Canada. Let's start with Express Entry updates. On September 30th, IRCC held another PNP only draw, inviting 291 candidates with a minimum CRS score of 855. This was the 18th PNP draw of 2025 and the seventh one just in September. PNP nominations are still one of the most reliable ways to secure PR. Even though CRS scores are sitting high, you have to start thinking about PNP early on in the process when you're sitting outside of Canada and are about to apply for your first Canadian visa. Just 2 days later, on October 2nd, IRCC held a Canadian Experience class draw. 1,000 invitations were sent out, and the CRS cutoff stayed steady at 534 CRS points, the same as the last two rounds. Then on October 3rd, IRCC invited 4,500 candidates under the French language proficiency category, same as the French draw we saw back on September 4th. IRCC is currently highly rewarding bilingual talent. If you're fluent in French, this can be a great asset for Canadian immigration, even going into the next year. Manitoba held a big PNP draw on September 18th. 911 letters of advice to apply went out, mainly through the skilled worker and strategic recruitment streams. And over 90% of those invitations were linked to a temporary public policy that helps eligible workers renew their work permits. So, a major boost for people already in Canada and contributing to Manitoba's economy. Manitoba is really standing out for how it supports international graduates and temporary workers. They're clearly focused on helping people already building their lives in the province. Next up, PEI held its ninth PNP draw of the year on September 19th, inviting 129 candidates under the labor and express entry streams. PEI is focusing on high demand sectors like healthcare, trades, and manufacturing. Right now, roles in services and sales are on the pause. We're seeing a clear shift here. Like other provinces, PEI is becoming sector driven. It's not just about your skills anymore, it's about matching the province's economic priorities. And BC is making its comeback after a quieter few months. The province is pushing to clear backlogs and focus on high impact workers, postgraduates, and entrepreneurs. On October 2nd, 2025, the BC PNP issued invitations to apply to 474 candidates. Invitations were issued to candidates in two categories. 114 invites were sent to people who had a minimum wage of $90 per hour or $175,000 per year. That was the minimum that was required. And a job offer in NOC tier 0, 1, 2, or 3. The second category was those candidates who had a minimum score of 140 points in BC's PNP. 360 such candidates were invited. There were also there was also an entrepreneur based category round of invites with 11 people invited to BC PNP with a minimum score of 123. British Columbia also just received an extra 1,254 nominations for 2025, bringing its total up to 5,254. Over in Saskatchewan, Moose Jaw has officially launched its rural community immigration pilot, making it the last of the 14 communities in Canada to join the program. This pilot provides direct pathway to PR for foreign workers with job offers in priority sectors like trades, education, and manufacturing. Community driven immigration is growing quickly. Rural areas are using these pilots to address the local labor shortages, and it's an excellent entry point for candidates, even if your CRS score isn't super high. IRCC has officially closed the caregiver stream for applicants outside of Canada under the Home Care Workers pilot. With over 34,000 applications backlogged, IRCC is now focusing on caregivers who are already in Canada. So, if you're a caregiver abroad, your pathway now may be through Express Entry healthcare draws or relevant PNP streams like Manitoba Skilled Worker Overseas or Ontario's Job Offer Program, which I will talk about in just a second. As for the big headline everyone has been talking about, the US hiked its H-1B visa fee to $100,000, and as a result, Canada is stepping up as a top destination for global tech professionals. So, with programs like the Global Talent Stream, Innovation Stream, and STEM-focused Express Entry draws, Canada might be a good option for tech professionals. Finally, let's look at the temporary resident arrivals. The latest IRCC data shows a continued decline. In July 2025, Canada saw a noticeable drop in temporary resident arrivals, with worker arrivals falling by 37% and student arrivals dropping by 55% compared to last year. Although that's more than 20,000 fewer new study and work permits compared to the same month last year, this doesn't mean that you cannot apply for a study or work permit. All this means is you now need to be even more careful while submitting these applications to ensure that you get approved. This also clearly confirms the federal strategy, scaling back study permits and managing the population growth. At this point, it's better to keep an eye on temporary programs like temporary foreign worker and international mobility program, as they'll remain under scrutiny through the rest of this year and next year. Also, there was an update related to Ontario. On Thursday, October 9th, Ontario had a big round of invites where they invited candidates through their three job offer streams. These are non express entry job offer streams. Through the foreign worker stream, they invited 671 candidates who were early childhood educators or healthcare professionals with a minimum score of 38. Through their international student stream, they invited 757 candidates with a minimum score of 55 who were again early childhood educators or healthcare professionals. This stream targets international graduates from any university within Canada who have a job offer from an Ontario employer. And finally, they also sent invites for the in-demand skill streams. 162 invites were sent out with a minimum score of 31, and this was focused on home support workers. So while IRCC has closed the doors to home support workers outside of Canada, Ontario is focusing on home support workers through this stream. So that's it. Quick and easy. Let's move on to Q&A session. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll stay here for a minute and see if I can answer any questions. Nomi Samir, hello. Assalamu alaikum. How can I help you? Let's see if we have something on Instagram. There's a question. I have a closed work permit and 2 year in Toronto, knock 73102. Any chance to get invitation? You just have to look at the trends, Usama, and see where how many invites have been sent out, what's the remaining allocation, and just decide based on that. Nomi from Paris. I know you've been in the previous lives as well. Nice to see you here again. Okay. I think there are no more questions, so I think I can close the call. Um, if you missed this live for any reason or you want to stay updated but don't have the time to go through a whole video, you can subscribe to the newsletter by scanning this QR code or just going to the website. I send out newsletters where you can get all the updates quickly within a few seconds. And if you want to go into the details, there are more details provided there as well. Also, subscribe to the channel so you can get the latest news, watch the videos about different options for immigrating to Canada. And that's it for today. Thank you so much. Osama, by the way, if you have any question, you can DM me and we can connect offline and discuss in detail. All right. Take care. Thank you so much.